Scaling from single-family investment properties to multi-family investment properties can be a huge step for someone not in this multi-family space right now. Single-family investing is much more difficult at scale because closing on 20 houses is much harder than closing on one 20-unit complex. They're totally different business models, but at the end of the day, it's not rocket science.
Yes, science!
It's rental properties and it's pretty easy to figure it out. If you can scale up a single family rental business, then it's not going to be that much harder for you to scale up a multi-family rental business. But the billion-dollar question is, how do you do it? Let's get into that right now.
We're in Houston right now, walking our new 56-unit crazy property here. It starts down there. We got Allon, Avgi, billion-dollar man.
Before I get crazy, let me break this down for you. Single family is one single house, right? Easily understood. Everyone knows that in this business. Multifamily investing is 2 to 4 family residential units. That's its own category because it's still considered residential investing. Once you pass 5 units, you get into a new category of financing and underwriting, so to say. It becomes commercial investing. It's treated like a commercial loan. Banks look at 5 units plus as a commercial property, which directly impacts your financing. Very important to keep in mind. Residential is typically much less expensive than buying commercial real estate, especially in single and multifamily rental space. What you need to really get a hold of to grasp is the underwriting process by the banks, because the banking world is what's going to help you leverage and grow much faster. Residential underwriting, checking your income, your tax returns, basically all the stuff that doesn't have to do with how the property is going to perform as a rental, except maybe they check sometimes, depending on the loan you get, if the property's rent will cover the mortgage and the DSCR. In commercial, on the multifamily side, it's all about that. If there's a couple tenants missing, will the property still cover the debt service? If at full occupancy, what is the debt service coverage ratio? If it's not going to hit a 1.2 DSCR, which you could look up, DSCR, we'll throw it on the screen right here, the definition. If it doesn't hit that, then they won't lend to you. And then it's based on the income approach no matter what. So if the property brings in a ton of cash flow, then the lender will definitely lend to you on the way in and refinance you on the way out for much more than what you're in for. You gotta get that down. It has to be second nature to you. If you're really good at the construction side, you need to get somebody down that knows what that's all about. Get somebody on board that's really well versed in that space and that can teach you as well. Because the faster you figure that out, the faster you can scale from single to multi-families. Next thing that's extremely important in scale is location. You're going to want to pick locations that aren't going to be extremely difficult to manage. Even if you're in a D-class location, you're going to want to have a certain criteria for your tenants that makes it so they will be paying you and you're going to not have as much of a headache. Like Section 8, for example. I love Section 8 tenants because the government pays their rent. Although they can be annoying and more difficult and trash the place, if I'm in a bad location, then that's understandable. Then that makes more sense than renting to people lower income, potentially not going to pay me the rent and have a bad track history of doing that. Third is building the team. I know everyone's talking about this right now. I hear it everywhere I go. Every time I scroll on Instagram or TikTok, team, build your team.
Enough, we get it.
You have to build your team, but what does that mean? It doesn't have to be an in-house team, people that answer phone calls all day for you and do all that stuff and virtual assistants. I don't have any virtual assistants right now. I do have an in-house team, but I try and outsource as much as possible. So when talking about team building, there's nothing wrong with hiring a third-party management company. It's okay. You're going to pay them a fee. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your team. And if they don't do well, you hire and fire them just like you would any person in-house. And you move on to the next person if that's the case. If they do great, you do the opposite. you bonus them. You make them feel like they're part of something bigger, and they're going to give you their heart and soul in order to make sure your projects are successful. So put together those moving parts, that team, property managers, contractors, subcontractors, expediters, lawyers, whatever you need in order to scale the multifamily business, which I basically just outlined for you. Lastly, in order to scale and scale well, you're going to want to put together a plan. It's easy to just say, I'm going to buy 100 units, but how are you going to get there? Are you going to buy 25 unit apartment complexes, or are you going to buy 250 unit apartment complexes? How are you going to finance them? Who's going to help you and sign for that loan that'll qualify for a commercial loan for something like that? Just think about those things. Keep that in mind. Put together a plan, write it out. Maybe you're going to go from single family, 2 to 4 family, buy a 5 to 10 family, and then grow from there as you get the business down. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share this with somebody that wants to get into multifamily investing. Go to my Instagram at Allon Avgi. For some reason, we've been growing a lot lately, and I'm really happy about it. Shout out Damien, shout out Darren, you guys are killing it. Let's just keep growing this baby, and until next time, my friends, peace.